Catus, Maximus here. This time I'm talking about the Riccar Steward. Actually, the name is Riccar. They're based out of Missouri. Riccar has made a name. They've been around for a while, but they manufacture a variety of brands. Riccar, Simplicity. They make the Maytag vacuums. They made some news back in the 90s where they brought manufacturing from Taiwan back to Missouri. But 20 years or 25 years later now, only, I believe, their dual motor high-end vacuums are made in the United States. Everything else is made overseas again. And unfortunately, the Steward is made in China. But I did buy it from a local vacuum cleaner shop. And so that's the deal with Riccar. They're kind of like, Snap-on, those kind of companies where they only sell through independents, and kind of put my money where my mouth is. And even though it's a Chinese vacuum, I did buy it from an independent retailer. Actually a really small hole-in-the-wall vacuum shop. Always kind of wanted a stick vacuum, but at least a decent one. And I was not going to get a Dyson or something like that, my goodness. And I kind of like the black and white look of the Riccar. Even though it's been discontinued, you can still find them. Real pricey. I got this floor model for 140 bucks. Still has a full 2-year warranty, all registered. And they go as high as about $190. So they are definitely a not cheap stick vacuum. Anyway, they are a wind tunnel style, but they don't have the multi-volt vortices. This top part just opens up, and you have a HEPA filter in there, and then there's a bypass if it gets too clogged. Has pretty good suction, 7.5 amp motor. Cleaning it, you can either, of course, open the bottom up like so, or just pop this out. Sometimes some particles get stuck, or hair gets stuck inside this, so I've had to open this up a couple of times, but otherwise it's generally been fine. And you have another filter for the motor down there, and it just pops in. The handle can pop out. I'm not exactly sure why it has that capability. If I could get this on here properly. Come on now. There we go. And there are, of course, some accessories. I never end up getting accessories with these, but one of the things I did like is that it has a separate powered brush roll. The Riccar dual motor vacuums, this is not what they mean by dual motor. They have some expensive uprights which have 2 suction motors in them, one to blow through the bag and one to pull up off the ground. That's kind of their name to fame, is that they have a direct acting and an indirect acting on the big ones. But this still does have an independent brush roll motor. And what I do like is if you listen, there's a micro switch in there, so when this is standing up, it turns off the brush roll, and as soon as you lean it back and this head moves forward, the brush roll turns on. One of the things, you always get stuff caught up in the brush roll, and what I liked about this one is you could just use your fingernail and just pop this thing out if it'll cooperate here. Like so. You can just pop out the brush roll, so it's really easy to clean. And so that's one of the things I liked about it. It was just super easy to deal with the brush roll. And you just need a fingernail or coin to unlock it. So that was a big deal. And then it does unplug, but it's really pretty stiff. So you could put like a hose and just use this as a power head, but I don't have any of those accessories. Anyway, that's that. Let's do a quick vacuum here, and then we'll do a couple of quick tests. At least it's properly designed where you can just flip that thing down and get the cord off nice and easy, and it can go back in either direction. Yes, they are using a high temp 105 degrees C cord here. And so I vacuumed this like a couple days ago. This is where my big path is. We'll see how much stuff it gets off the carpet. So this is indeed advertised as a bare floor vacuum, but I just wanted something small for my carpets and figured a Riccar should be nice enough to where it works. But it has like a little rubber squeegee and a little felt pad. We'll give it a quick shot on some bare floor, some linoleum here, because the deal they're advertising on this is it doesn't kick everything around, it actually sucks it up. But I do like how it works on the carpet on this old shag. This is nothing like some old shag here. Not super loud. That's one of the other things I liked about it. So tired of vacuums that are super duper loud. And if it's a good vacuum, even though it's like specifically a bare floor model, they generally should work pretty well on just about any surface you run them on. And so that was my deal with this Riccar. And a good suction motor. So maybe cleaned up in a high traffic area with shag. I mean, it does work. You see it picking up the particles here. And it indeed did. Surprisingly enough, it did find a fair amount of dust. You can see how it gets caught on that little edge there. And this thing fills up fast. That's at least one thing I can say about it, is it does work pretty well. Anyway, for people who do want to know, the front is pretty low to the ground, so if you spill things like some macaroni or cat food, it's just going to push it around with the front of it. So it is for finer particles, basically for stuff that doesn't get swept up as easy. But I spilled some salt on the floor. We'll see how well this works out. Should be one pass. The idea is it's not going to kick it around. It seemed to work okay. Alright, what do we got here? Wow, it really did all in one swoop. It just pulled it all right in there. Okay, so it does work on bare floors. Alright, might as well do a corn grits test of this thing here. It does have good suction. That's at least a nice thing, as a lot of vacuums say they have good suction. I think it's part of why this works worth a shoot in the first place, is the fact that it does have a strong motor. Spilled some corn grits. This is a, you know, like an office carpet mat. Let's see how well this does on it. It actually pulls up the mat. I got to go this way. It's not too bad. Seems to work as advertised there, and that was I was having so much trouble. This thing rolls across this rug just fine. It actually has enough suction and good enough sealing down there where it's sucking the whole rug to the bottom of the brush roll. Might as well do corn grits on carpet. There we go. At least get that in there. I feel like a vacuum cleaner salesperson. But, you know, people do review a lot of vacuums and actually don't vacuum up a lot of stuff with them. So it seemed to work out just fine there. You know, I stepped on it. It took a few passes. I see a couple more particles. So this isn't really intended for that, just because the brush roll does not extend very deep, but the suction really just sucks the head down onto the carpet and still works just fine. And that was kind of the point of this Riccar Steward, and what the guy said at the store is, really, if you want just a small compact stick vacuum, this thing is probably one of the best just all-rounders where you can just any surface it will work pretty well on. And for like a 10-pound vacuum, you know, it's exactly what I wanted. Just something that was small, that actually worked and was somewhat reliable, and I might be able to get parts even though they discontinued. Apparently nobody really liked this thing, or they thought it was an overpriced stick vacuum. So, I mean, and I didn't pay retail for it, but I like it. I kind of like the idea where it turns like this. I always kind of thought those things were just a little bit more convenient. And to tell you the truth, it does help kind of just steer it around. You don't really try, it's just kind of natural. And so I thought, that's actually kind of an innovative thing there. And overall, I think it's not a bad vacuum. And we can see how much grits I actually dumped. A huge amount. Didn't realize I'd thrown that much on the floor. So it actually does work. So anyway, whoop, I almost knocked it over. I think it's a decent little vacuum. It's a shame that they discontinued it, because it's there's a lot of stick vacuums out there, but this is kind of fits a certain class, and that's why it caught my eye. I mean, it has like a satin pearl paint and black, and actually I liked the way it looked. But the other thing that I liked about it was the fact that it kind of had more like, it was like a stick vac, that was bigger than just these super tiny, these little Dysons and stuff, which were more like dust busters connected to a long hose. Whereas something like this, where it was more of a compact, upright, full-size vacuum. And I did want the wind tunnel thing. I didn't want to deal with the bags. I like changing the HEPA filters and stuff, and that's fine. But sometimes when you're cleaning up a lot of debris, maybe I dump that entire 5-pound bag of grits. This would have made it a lot easier because you could vacuum till this was filled up and just quickly dump it, and you could clean up several pounds of material in just a couple of minutes. And it's actually faster to deal with than messing with the bag. It's a little bit more efficient because you're not buying and throwing away bags and using up more of the Earth's resources, I should say. And once again, it's a shame probably because it was a bit overpriced for a stick vacuum, and people kind of probably saw it and said, well, if I'm going to buy a 10-pound stick vacuum, I might as well just buy a full-size vacuum. Or they may have wanted one of those cordless, dustbuster style. But I think this fits a nice niche. I live in an apartment, so this is like a perfect apartment vacuum. Small, compact, doesn't take up much space, but gives you just about like upright performance. And even though it's made for bare floors, and it works fine on that, I like the way it works on pretty much anything, any kind of carpeting, anything like that. And it does so with a decent amount of efficiency, and it's reasonably effective, mainly because the brush roll motor driving that brush roll is way overkill. That brush roll, the entire surface, I mean, you could stand on this thing and the brush roll would spin until the carpet starts burning. So I like that, and I like that it had a good amount of suction. So anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.